Ethan Carrington was the kind of man who commanded silence the moment he walked into a room. CEO of one of the most successful architectural firms in the city, Carrington and Blake Designs. He built his empire from nothing but determination, grit, and a vision. Every detail in his sleek, glass-walled office reflected the man. He was precise, cold, and untouchable. But beneath the flawless surface of his company, something had begun to rot. He sensed it in the glances his employees exchanged when they thought he wasn't looking. Whispered conversations that stopped the second he stepped into a room. Missing documents, the mysterious leak that had cost them $1 billion contract. Ethan had built his reputation on control. But now, something or someone was slipping through his fingers. And then she appeared. Little girl, no older than 7, no one had ever seen before. She stood silently in the middle of the firm's marble-floored lobby, a stuffed bunny in her arms, her eyes wide and searching. Security didn't know how she got past them. The receptionist hadn't seen her enter, yet there she was, like a ghost. Ethan was in the middle of a call when he saw her through the glass. Annoyed, but curious, he ended the call and stepped out. "Who are you, sweetheart?" he asked, kneeling to her level. Her eyes darted toward the hallway, then up to him. She stepped forward, cupped her tiny hand to his ear, and whispered 6 words that sent a chill down his spine. "Camera in your office?" Just like that, she turned and walked away. By the time Ethan stood up and called for security, she had vanished. Vanished. No one had seen her leave. It was as if she had never existed. Should have dismissed it as a prank, Kex. Ethan never dismissed anything. That night, long after everyone else had left, he returned to his office. He searched every inch. Furniture, vents, even the light. Fixtures, nothing. Until he tapped gently under the edge of his mahogany desk and heard a hollow echo. He pried the panel open, and there it was. A small, wireless black device tucked neatly into a groove under the drawer, a hidden camera, still blinking red. Ethan's heart thundered. Someone had been watching him, recording every move, every private call, every strategy, every confidential conversation. The implications were massive. It explained the leaks, the failed deals, the betrayal. Someone inside the company was working against him, but who and why? He sat back in his chair, eyes darting across the skyline, heart racing. The camera had to have been placed there recently. Only employees had access, which meant the traitor was still walking the halls of Carrington and Blake. Smiling, pretending, scheming. He didn't call the police. No. Ethan would handle this himself, quietly, thoroughly. He pulled up the server backups and began accessing internal security footage. Over the next 6 hours, he watched, piecing together a timeline, cross-checking logins, reviewing visitor access. And then he saw it. One of his most trusted senior architects, Janice McMillan, lingering in his office after a late meeting 2 weeks ago. She was alone, nervous, fidgeting. Her eyes kept flicking to the door. And then, with a swift motion, she knelt under his desk and placed something. Ethan froze the frame, zoomed in. It was the same device. Rage burned through him, but so did curiosity. Janice had worked with him for years. Why would she betray him, unless she wasn't working alone? The more he dug, the more he found. Files accessed that should have been locked. Confidential emails forwarded to external domains. Patterns began to emerge. A group, maybe 5, maybe more, was collaborating to take him down from the inside. Competitors had tried before. But this time it wasn't just business. It was personal. Ethan barely slept that night. By morning, he had a list of names. Janice was at the top. So were a few others he'd once called friends. And just like that, the man who trusted no one now trusted even less. The next day, as the staff gathered for their weekly briefing, Ethan walked in with a calmness that chilled the room. He looked around at the face, some guilty, some innocent, all nervous, and then he dropped the bombshell. "You're all fired," he said. Gasps filled the air, shouts, questions, but Ethan didn't blink. "Every single one of you," he Repeated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out. You'll be contacted if you're needed for further investigation. Chaos erupted. Phones buzzed. Panic spread. But Ethan remained stone-faced.
Oh!
He had no intention of rebuilding with rot still in the foundation. He'd rather raise the entire structure and start again. And he would. But first, he needed to find out who sent that little girl, and how she knew about the camera in the first place. Chapter 2. Ghosts in the wires with the office, now silent and empty. Ethan Carrington sat alone in the boardroom, surrounded by the silence of betrayal. The once vibrant halls of Carrington and Blake echoed with nothing but the low hum of HVAC vents and the buzz of fluorescent lights. The entire staff, more than 60 employees, were gone in a single stroke. And yet, his mind circled back to one mystery: the little girl. She hadn't just whispered a warning she had known. Knowledge, Ethan had learned, was power. Handed the camera over to a private investigator that same afternoon. Within hours, the device was traced to a custom spyware network used in corporate espionage rings. Ethan's firm had been a target, but more importantly, the spy had inside help. A mole, and someone much more powerful pulling the strings. As investigators worked behind the scenes, Ethan dug deeper into Janice McMillan's recent behavior. Financials, communications, her travel patterns, and what he found stunned him. Janice had been meeting with executives from a rival firm, Silvercore Designs, not just meeting being paid. Hundreds of thousands over the past year. She'd fed them designs, client leads, and even Ethan's private conversations. But the most chilling part? A series of encrypted voice notes between Janice and someone listed only as mother. One audio clip stood out. Janice's voice trembled as she spoke. She said he'd find the camera. I don't know how the kid knew, but she's always, right? Always. Ethan replayed the clip 10 times. The kid. It was real. She wasn't a hallucination. She wasn't random. She was part of something bigger. But who was Mother? What game was she playing? Days passed, and Ethan received a message, an untraceable email with a single sentence. You're not safe in your own house. He checked his home, swept it, found nothing. But the paranoia grew. Security was doubled. Phones destroyed.
Back.
Life became a chessboard, until one night he heard a knock. A soft one. Not on the door, on his window. Second floor. When he opened it, a paper plane fluttered in. On it, in neat handwriting, they're watching from within. Mother says, check. Your CTO's laptop. Ethan raced to the now abandoned server room. His former CTO, Darren Kells, had been one of his closest allies, a silent genius. But when Ethan powered on his laptop, a flood of files burst open. Secret transfers, recordings, plans to oust Ethan and sell the company. Darren wasn't just involved, he was the ringleader. And Mother. She was real. A name appeared again and again in communication logs. Ilara Sin. A former child prodigy turned underground cybersecurity ghost. She'd vanished from the public eye years ago. Rumor said she ran a secret agency of gifted orphans children trained in espionage, tech, and psychological manipulation. She called them her whispers. Ethan sat back, stunned. The girl was a whisper, sent to warn him, not destroy him. But why? Another email arrived. This one with a video file. It opened with grainy security footage. Young girl, his daughter, Mia being followed by men in suits. Ethan hadn't seen Mia in years. She'd been taken from him in a custody battle, orchestrated by Darren. Darren wasn't just betraying the company. He had targeted Ethan's life. Pieces locked into place. Laura. Sin had sent her whispers to protect Ethan, not just from corporate theft, but from a full-blown personal takedown. He owed her everything. And now he had work to do. With the truth exposed, Ethan made a public statement. The company would return, but leaner, smarter, and unbreakable. And he made sure everyone watching knew one thing. You think I lost my mind firing everyone? He said into the camera. No, I finally found it. Thought. Thanks to a whisper from the shadows. Behind him, the company's logo shifted. A new name burned across the screen: Whisper Core Innovations. A tribute to the girl, a promise to stay one step ahead, a warning to those still watching. He was no longer playing defense.